Christmas, and this is Heart of Stitches. This is episode 3, change of venue. I'm home in Connecticut. I'm not sure I have the lighting exactly right, so I apologize for that. I have the window open. If anybody starts mowing their lawn or anything, I will shut the window, but you might hear a few robins and whatever's out there. The first thing I want to say is thank you. Thank you to anybody who's viewed the other 2 podcasts or subscribed. I have had a few commenters, so now I feel like I have some knitting friends, and that's a success for me. That is exactly what I was looking for. I'm not looking to make any money. I'm not selling anything. I just wanted more community. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's exactly what I was hoping for. What I'm wearing is the String of Pearls sweater. The designer is Therese Chenowith, and it was a free pattern that Ravelry took me to Pandemonium magazine, and I downloaded it. This is the first sweater I ever made, so it was very adaptable for a beginner. I really had no problems following the pattern. It's very well written. My only comment for somebody who's a real beginner, while you start flat, and then once you join in the round, this braiding part that's repeated at the raglan is reversed. So I kept doing it the same way. It was like a yarn over and a knit 2 together, but once you weren't doing the purl side, you had to, it was opposite. So I flubbed that up. I had to tink back. And for me at that time, tinking back's harder where there's anything other than just plain stockinette. So, you know, if the Pandemonium magazine or Theresa Chenowith, just a little heads up for a beginner that, you know, when you meet in the round, this changes a little because it's the same symbols, the same letters, but they're not in the same order. So that was my one problem that I had with it. Other than that, again, I usually have short row gauge when I meet stitch gauge. So I did add a few non-increasing rounds to lower the armpits, so I just wouldn't be strangling myself. This is made out of 100% cashmere that I ordered from like an importer. So I'm not sure, after I ordered it, and I've got 2 other colors of this that I haven't used yet. I was a little worried once I got it that maybe everything wasn't on the up and up. The ball band doesn't show a company name. There's spelling errors. I wanted this sweater to be longer than it is, and I ordered 2 more of the same colorway. I think I did order it from a different company, but it was a different pink when it came, and the ball bands, even though they were the same color, were different, and the wording was different. So I'm just not sure that the business practices. I think the yarn was great. I loved it. It didn't have knots or breaks in it at all. It's good quality as far as wearability. It's cozy as hell. But I'm just worried that a larger company might have been missing some inventory and it got sold to me under a different brand or no brand. So I won't be ordering this kind of cashmere anymore, even though I really loved it. And I was speaking at the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival 2 years ago to a woman who had written a book about farm to sweater knitting. Like, I think it was called Slow Knitting, the name of the book. And she said, you know, happy sheep or happy goats in this case make good wool. Like you could see the stress if the animals are stressed. I don't see that at all here. So that made me feel better that, you know, at least the animals weren't part of what I think might be a problem. And I don't know that it's a problem. It's just, I'd never ordered anything from an importer before, and just the labeling isn't what any reputable brand would put out to America. as their branding. Like it says SRELCH, Schroelch, and it's supposed to say stretch. On the other one, the second one I got, it said stretch. So it's just something to watch out for as knitters and creators, that you don't want to be taking advantage of anyone. So if I did, I feel bad about that, but I didn't know until I got it that it was, you know, going to have this kind of thing, and I'm not going to order anymore. I held this double with, it came with a supporting, like a stabilizing strand of nylon or some kind of cotton maybe. I only used one of those strands. It was gossamer thin, and when I had 2 and 2, it was tangling up and leaving little loops of that stabilizing string. So I only used one of those and 2 strands of the cashmere, and it's a super comfortable fit for me. I probably made the sleeves a little bit longer than was in the pattern, and I made the length to fit me. I mean, I don't call that a modification. You know, we're silly to make something handmade and then just because the artist who designed it said stop at, you know, whatever, 16 inches or 14 inches doesn't mean we have to. We have to be comfortable in our own garments. So that's the only modifications that I did. Again, this is my first one. I was in no position to do any modifications. And just reading what else. The only thing, I wore this traveling, and it pills a little, you know, any yarn pills. So other than that, I love this pattern. And again, it was called String of Pearls, and the designer was Therese Chenowith. And at least when I did this, it was a free pattern at that point. My second item, because I'm in Connecticut, I did not knit all these in the past week, but I thought I would show some of the things that I have here that I've made. When I first started knitting, seriously knitting and wanting to knit garments, I had made this hat and scarf for my son, and this had no pattern. It was just you know, looking at Facebook groups, and I liked this sort of waffly stitch, and it is 2 rows of stockinette rib, I'm sorry, not stockinette, 2 rows of 2x2 rib, and then 2 rows of knitting. So you end up getting like a break row, that's like a garter row, and then a ribbed row. The hat had 84 stitches, and the scarf had 32. My son's tall, both of my sons are tall, so this is long, you know, it's folded twice here. I probably should have made it a little bit wider for him, but looking back at my own knitting journey, this yarn, which was Patons Classic Wool Worsted, in the colorway brown mustard, I probably wouldn't buy this now because of the feel of it. At the time, I thought it was great, you know, and it is great, but it's called a 100% pure new wool. So it doesn't say merino. It doesn't say anything really about the source of the wool, where like other ones will say Peruvian wool, or this one doesn't say that. It is made in India, so I don't know if the wool came from India or if that was imported to India and then spun. I don't know anything. But I just thought I would show, like, sort of like in the journey of where you start, you know, and you're using, or at least I was using, no pattern in particular, just a stitch I saw that I liked. The pattern actually was a pattern, the very, very first thing I knitted when I came back to knitting, probably well, my granddaughters are 3.5, so I bought this in Florida, so they were already 6 months old. So 3 years ago, I went to Black Sheep yarn store in Florida, looking to get knitting items, but they had changed to a needlepoint, like a high-end fine needlepoint store. But they had on hand some kits of the, you know, so it was this and a ball of yarn that changed 3 times, and it had a little felted, in this case a snowflake, but they had other ones with Santa Claus or an angel or something on it. And so I bought 2 of them. The snowflake was the only one that they had 2 of the same ones, so that's definitely what I got. And this was where the pattern came from, and it told you how many to cast on and how to do this. Nope, that's inside out. This pinwheel closure. So I used that for a hat for my son, and I used the remainder of the 2 balls that I had of this and made one for my daughter. I made one for my niece's daughter. So I was making hats there for a minute. And that was the first thing. It was before I even knew Ravelry existed, before I knew YouTube knitting community existed. You found patterns wherever you could, and this was what started my journey anyway. Then to maybe show what the difference is now, I made this hat. I made 2 of them. I wanted to make one for my son for Christmas, and I'd asked him to measure his head, and he took a long time to get back to me. So I started the medium Musselburgh hat and brought it to Ireland. I went to Ireland last fall with my sister and brother and their spouses, and I worked on the Musselburgh hat, which is a great traveling pattern, because I did this top before I left, and then all I had to do while I was traveling was round and round and round with nothing. I didn't have to worry about counting stitches, remembering where I was, whether I should be knitting or purling. It was a great travel knit. This is Malabrigo. Let me find the page. Ultimate Sock, I think was what it was called, and the colorway was called Pocion. When I got home, my son told me his head measurement, and it was bigger than a medium would be. And I should have known that, because I have a big head, and I pass my big head on to my children. Not quite as big as mine, I don't think. But anyway. So I made another Musselburgh hat in the large size. So I let my son try them on at Christmas time, and he took the larger one. So this is the medium one that doesn't have anybody to wear it at the moment. I used a size 4 needle, so it's the Musselburgh hat by, I'm not going to say this right, Ysolda Teague. Very famous. Everyone's been making these hats, but so beautiful. The only thing with, and I found this with the Malabrigo that I used for my chickens, they're not always the same. Like, it's very, each skein is very individual. So the hat that Sean took was a little bit different color. One had a lot more blue in it. One of them had a lot more brown in it. So he must have taken the one with more blue, because this one's reading pretty brown. Great pattern. And I'm traveling in a couple of months, and I'm thinking of making another hat, except for I don't wear hats on my big head. And my daughter and my other son are in Florida, so I don't need to make them a hat. So I don't want to make things just to make them, which was what I used to do. Like, I just wanted to make things with my hands, and I didn't really care if they had a home when they got out of. But this yarn is more dear to buy, and I'm trying to only make things if I have a recipient in mind. So I'm looking for a pattern to make while I'm traveling to Scotland. I think it's going to be the DRK Everyday Shawl or Cowl. I'd made one and then gifted it to my son's girlfriend, and I have enough yarn to make a second one. And I think that's what I'm going to take, because it's got slip stitches, but it's not a hard pattern to remember when you're picking it up after getting off a bus or whatever. My next finish item is the Friend to Friend. I don't know if you would call this a stole or a shrug or a, but here's mine. It is a great pattern. It's so well written. It's very simple. There's not a lot of, shaping going on. You decrease, I think we started at the bottom. Ribbing at the bottom, and then you decrease exactly as she said. I didn't make any adjustments other than she has in her pattern, if you want to make it longer, where to put the extra rows. So I did that. Mine, I used the yarn she recommended, Hue and Me, which is Two of Wands. Oh wait, Lion Brand is the brand name, and then Hue and Me, and I used the colorway Salt. I had looked at a brown, but I was a little worried I'd look like the poop emoji, so I picked this. And now sometimes I feel I look a little bit like the Michelin Man, but on me, it's very thick fabric that you get from this. So on me, I feel like it rides up, and it probably has something to do with my chest, helping it to ride up. When I have worn this, you know, in the winter, once I'm sitting in a chair and sort of lean back on it, it doesn't ride up anymore. But if I get up and walk around with it, mine is riding up my chest, really, and my arms. I tend to flap around probably too much. But what a beautiful pattern. And I added a little heart of stitches on mine. I had recently commented, Leslie, friend on her podcast, had just made another version of this in the same colorway, and I had written mine was the same color, but I put this little taupe, and this actually is the yarn from the DRK Everyday Shawl that I made for my son's girlfriend, or a little piece of it. Great pattern. And if you live in a cold climate, like I like to keep my heat lowish in the winter time. I don't like to breathe heated air. It's not really so much for comfort as I just don't like to breathe overly heated air. And I want to save a little bit on oil. So I love this. I think I might make another one, but make it out of a chunky yarn that's maybe a little bit more drapey than this one. This Hue and Me is 80% acrylic and 20% wool. So if I got something that was just maybe not as lofty or had a different fiber content that, like even when I'm holding it up, you could sort of tell that at least mine isn't draping at all. It's, stiff. Maybe a yarn that's just a little drapier would help me as far as it riding up, or make it a little bigger just so it doesn't catch up on my boobs so much. The other finished object that I'd like to show is when I got back into knitting. This was before I knew about Ravelry or YouTube. I just made a sampler blanket. So I started out with garter rows, then stockinette, then a seed stitch. So it's 20 rows. Each of these stripes is 20 rows. So 20 rows of stockinette, 20 rows of seed stitch, 20 rows of stockinette, 20 rows of like a waffle stitch that I didn't need a pattern for. Like I had seen it in people's Facebook posts. Like I belong to a couple of the Facebook knitting groups. So I, just decided mine is 4x4. So I would do 4 rows and 4 stitches across in this little waffle pattern. Then 4 rows of stockinette. This one was called the Andalusian stitch, which I like. It just makes this pattern by itself. And I think it was 2 rows of knit, 1 row of purl, and then another row of knit. I don't actually remember. Then stockinette, and then my hearts. I actually plotted out on in my journal, which has got like a dot matrix kind of pages. It's not ruled. It's got dots. So I'm not sure if this will show. I plotted out these hearts, which I think at the points of the hearts, I could have probably done something a little different and better to make it show up a little bit better as being a heart. But I mean, I think it is known, and it's for me, so I know it's a heart. And these two last one, this one sort of almost looks like a popcorn stitch crochet, but I don't actually remember what these last two were called. This one is Lion Brand woolies again. So sort of my favorite go-to. I don't want to say cheap because that makes it sound like it's not worthy, but my inexpensive machine washable. I have when I made this, I had 3 cats and a dog. We've had more death in the house with the animals than I would have liked, but this had to stand up to washing and drying in cats and dogs, and so this one is woolies. I made one of them for my son, and his was, I'm not going to find it now. Again, a Lion Brand, and his was 100% acrylic, and it was called Skein Tones. I don't know if they make this anymore, because I did make this a year ago. It's 100% acrylic. This is the colorway Mahogany. I'll put up, I gifted the blanket to my son, and I did take a couple of videos and snapshots of it before, so I will put those up here. His is the same thing with 20 rows of garter, then stockinette, then different stitches as you go up. Instead of the hearts, I actually plotted out my son's name. I don't really want to hold up my bullet journal is very messy. It's just for me. But, here's where I plotted out the E. So his says Sean on it. And I tried to use, not manly stitches. The stitch isn't manly or feminine, but I did use more architectural, more ribbing, more, there's one that's sort of a laddered, like mitered kind of angles. Again, I'll put up a video of that, or snapshots of that, so you could see it. And I was proud of that. And my son has like 2 dogs and 3 cats and turtles and fish and all sorts. And I'm not going to give my young son, he's in his 20s, something that he has to block or has to be too precious with. So I have to say, nothing against Lion Brand, I did not like to work with this. It worked up nice. The blanket itself is nice, but you could almost hear it squeaking, the acrylic on the needles. I used wood needles, I'm pretty sure, for this. So I didn't love the yarn, but the blanket came out nice, and the for what I paid for it, and that you could wash and dry it. If my other son wanted the same blanket, I probably would use the same yarn. I didn't hate it that much, but I didn't love it either. And that's sort of even with some of the finer yarns. You get them and you don't love them when you're working with them, but they're worth it because they look so nice. This is the Montego Shawl by TL Yarn Crafts, Toni Lipsey. This was from her Crochet Yarn Academy 2 years ago, I think. And I started it, and then once I put it away for whatever reason, I haven't gotten back to it. And it's not the pattern, because the pattern is very cute. It's, just a triangular shawl with long treble stitches, creating eyelet or a laddered back effect there. I was working on this at the beach when I did it, and these llama silver stitch markers are tarnishing on me, so I'll have to keep that in mind for next time. So I do have a stitch marker wherever the repeat, so I think it's a 4-row repeat. So I'm on my second ball of yarn, and this is Truboo 100% rayon from bamboo from Lion Brand, and this was what Toni Lipsey recommended. So at least when I started the Yarn Academy, you got an email and it told you what to buy. If you wanted to make her patterns, she said, buy 4 of this, or 3 in 1 of 2 different colors of that for the different items. So I made all of the items in her Yarn Academy that year. I don't love this yarn, I have to say. It's very silky to touch, and it's very drapey, as you can see. But boy, does it split and slip. Like, even as I'm holding this, my stitches are just coming off and coming apart. So I don't love that about it, but the color is the colorway is called Coral. Again, you know, you pick and choose for the amount of money that it costs, and how silky it is. Like, I think once this is done, I'm going to enjoy wearing it. It's very drapey, but working with it isn't the best experience ever. This is a sweater called Artwork Sweater, and it is by, and I apologize if I don't say this right, von Hinterm Stein. Let's see. I am not sure, but I think the woman in the pictures is the designer, because I went to and looked at more of her designs just a few days ago, and it's always the same model. So I think that is the model is the designer. I love this pattern. It's made in a way I've never ever worked on before. It's understated, but it does have detail. This picture's small, but I'm going to try and hold it up. So it's got detail that goes down the sleeve and a little bit that goes down the front. And that back detail is so intriguing. So when you cast on at the top, and you do ribbing, and then it was short rows while you're building up this, I'm not sure it's showing very well, this tab in the back. And then the sleeves radiate from that tab. So it's bunched up on my cord is too small to show this really well. But so if I flattened it out, this broken rib goes down the sleeves, and then this was the front. The front has one row of this broken rib that goes down the middle of the front, and then other than that, it is just stockinette. I'm going to, you know, try it on so many times to make sure that it fits, because it's in a construction that I have never worked with before. I don't know if I can do this. I'm going to put it on my head. So here's the front, and then the back is lower at this point. I'm not sure when that resolves, that the back isn't so much lower than the front, but just trusting the pattern. This was one of those patterns that just do what it says and then move on to the next step and do what that says. And it's all of a sudden making this shape, and now I'm seeing like, oh, I get it. You know, I get how this sweater is going to be. I am using a ChowGoo number 6, 4 millimeters. And I know I've heard so many people raving about ChowGoo, and I'm like, yeah, well, you know, it's a metal needle. Oh my God. I think this is the only pair of ChowGoo. I bought a pair of sock ChowGoos that I haven't used yet. They're so pointy. They actually hurt your finger a little, but boy, do they work up nice. They just pick up every stitch. There's no splitting. I think I'm gonna have to invest, I'm holding this backwards, sorry, in more ChowGoo needles, because they really are very, very nice to work with. And the yarn I have for this, I love too. I bought this from Woolly Thistle, and it is called Mountain Meadow Wool, Touch of the West, and it's made in USA, Buffalo, Wyoming. And it is called Cody Natural is the colorway that I used. And it says it's a two-ply sport weight, 185 yards per 2 ounces. You don't usually see it put out like that. And it says it's called Mountain Merino Wool, grown in Wyoming. So I don't think I've ever had a wool that was from out west. And it is, I'm gonna hold this up, but I'm not sure it'll, I don't know if, okay, there we go. At least I have it in the camera now. It's loopy, it's, or twisty. So it's a 2-ply, but you really can see the twists, but it doesn't split at all. And you would think that being so twisty that it would like twist up on itself, and it doesn't do that at all either. I really love this yarn. I would make I'm not sure what other colors. I just bought this white one, but I would use this yarn again and again, I think. I don't know that I have anything more to say about it. If I can get this done to bring to Scotland, this is definitely coming with me. I'm not sure I'm a fast enough knitter. And then I apologize if I'm so much in the dark. I think the sun has come out. I have two windows in front of me, two windows behind me, but I think the sun is now making me look like I'm in a deep shadow here. So I apologize for that. I might have to re-record this, but then I'm leaving on Sunday. So I don't know if I'll have a chance to. I can only do this if I'm home alone. If there's anybody else here, it's a no-go for me. I couldn't concentrate. I'd feel funny. I just absolutely couldn't do it. So I'll have to see how bad this lighting is and if I have another opportunity to record something. That's it. Other than that is 6 things that made me happy this week. So far I have been recording weekly. I'm not a fast enough knitter to have enough content to keep up weekly. I think I am going to do it next week because Paloma will be done. But I'm not sure I have enough content, and I don't want to turn into just talking about patterns I've never made and yarns that I'm just going to hold up and never show it again. Like, that's not authentic to the knitter that I am. So, I definitely don't want to just put on a show. Like, I love to, I have been really enjoying, recording these and sharing what I'm making, but I don't want to share things I'm not making, if that makes any sense. But, my 6 things. I was knitting this sweater in the airport while I was waiting, to board. And a woman who was getting off of a flight was just walking by, and she barely even broke stride, but she said, "Beautiful," and just kept going. And it's a little compliment, but it was so authentic and so well meant. And then I heard her, she must have been with a friend or a family member. I heard her say, "Someone's knitting." And that just, sort of makes your day to have somebody acknowledge that knitting is a skill, and it's not hard work, but it's something that takes a lot of time and patience, and to have somebody appreciate it is well worth it. Oh, I was going to look this up. There is a guy I'll put it on the screen because I'm not going to get it right. His name is Kevin, and he talks about crochet on Instagram. And I think it's Kevin, and then his last name.com is his handle. And it's an Asian name, but I don't want to insult people by saying it wrong, so I'm going to not say it, but his name is Kevin. And I'll put it on the screen, and he's funny, and he's so endearing about his crochet, and he'll hold things up and say, "Does it crow slay? Or is it, crow shit?" And he's very funny, and he makes things, and, he makes very vibrant colored, granny square, or not squares, but granny striped sweaters and things. Some of them are squares, but he's a joy. He doesn't always talk about crochet. He talks about life and other things, but he definitely is one of the people that I really enjoy on Instagram. The other one is sort of an Instagram thing as well. Knitting for Olive has been putting out posts where they show a certain colorway, like the last one I saw was like a moss green, and then they show it with all the different colors of silk mohair that they have, and they do a swatch, and the one I saw, they were in a circle, and it really shows you very, very clearly, like if you use a light blue with this green, what you're going to get. If you use a darker green, what are you going to get? If you use a lighter green, what are you going to get? And you really can order from them with confidence that the 2 colors you're going to get, because the mohair doesn't always exactly match the colorway that you're picking, or maybe you don't even want it to exactly match and you are looking for a deeper color or a lighter color. And you know, that's sort of a gift to knitters to do that. And it's probably good advertising for them. But one thing I did see from Knitting for Olive is they're not going to be shipping to the US for a month or two until all this tariff stuff gets solved. We as Americans, you know, haven't had to pay tariffs, and it's probably a long time coming, and you know, nobody likes the tactics that are used, but that there is tariffs is probably, you know, other countries are doing it and we didn't. So I'm not going to sit here and complain about the tariffs, but that it was so heavy-handed and didn't give small businesses a chance to get their feet under themselves and know how they're going to ship is a disservice to the rest of the world. So I, as an American, will apologize for that because it's not fair. I've seen person after person talk about that they're not going to ship to America for a month. That's a lot of revenue lost. You know, like it's a lot. So I apologize for that. I think we can all bear through it, and you know, we're just gonna have to pay our taxes, and that's the end of that. My other thing that you know, it looks like I'm looking for compliments today, but I tried on my Paloma. I'm almost done with it. When I tried it on, I thought I would want to add like another maybe 2 inches and then start the rib. But I put it on, I came out of my room at my daughter's house, and she happened to be in the kitchen. And when I walked out, she just went, "Oh, that's the nicest thing you've ever made." And it's just like such a warm compliment. You know, I didn't feel like she was blowing sunshine up my backside or anything. And it just made me feel good. And now I can't wait to finish it. I think going to start the ribbing when I get back. So I on the cuffs did 16 rows of ribbing. So I'll have 16 rows of the bottom to do. And then it'll be done. So just a nice heartfelt compliment is just makes you feel good. As far as television and things that I've been watching, that I've been catching up or rewatching Downton Abbey because they have a movie coming out next month, and I do plan on going to that with my daughter, and so I've been catching up. And all the people that I loved, I still love. All the people that irritated me or I was angry with, I'm still angry with. And it's a good watch the second time. So if anybody does plan to watch the movie, I've been watching it on Peacock. And my last of my 6 things is really all of you who have engaged with my prior 2 podcasts. You know, I'm not setting the world on fire with viewers or with likes and subscribers or anything. But for plain old me just putting out a podcast, I am completely overwhelmed with the acceptance and the nice comments I've gotten. I haven't gotten any mean ones yet. My cup runneth over. It really does. I'm just so appreciative of the people that have engaged with me, and I'm just thank you from the bottom of my heart. And that is my 6 things. And I will keep you in my heart of stitches until next week. I'm definitely going to do one next week, but then I might be an every 2 week, every 3 week kind of podcaster. Just, I don't knit as fast as to finish a sweater every week or anything like that. But thank you for watching. Goodbye.